All right, so this is my Netgear Meural Canvas II. I purchased two of these devices. They're $700 each. In my opinion, I would consider this a premium product. I mean, it's a picture frame that can display photos that you upload over Wi-Fi. For the price, it should just work. Overall, I'm mostly happy with it, other than a couple glaring issues. The screen quality is pretty good. It's not 4K, but it's enough that it's not really an issue, especially depending on the photos. Some photos are better, and the viewing distance. My one issue with this device is the gesture controls. There's actually two issues bundled into that. The first is that when I received both of my devices, the sensor would experience what I call phantom gestures. So just for reference, there is a sensor right over here and a sensor right here, so that you can swipe to change your photos, open up menus, look at descriptions of the pictures, both in portrait and in landscape mode. For whatever reason, both of my devices, they'll experience these random phantom gestures as if somebody's standing in front. It happens regardless of the time of day. It happens regardless of the ambient light levels in the room. It happens regardless of whether or not anybody's actually in the room. I'll be sitting 30 feet away, look over, and I'll see it just opening and closing menus. So to Netgear's credit, I contacted support. After some back and forth, they offered to send me prepaid shipping labels to be able to send this to their factory, where they can do what is a firmware update to the sensors themselves. And this seems to be an ongoing issue. I did some Googling beforehand. There's reports on their forum, on Reddit, of people experiencing this. I even saw somebody else, they're doing the exact same thing that was suggested to me, which was ship it and have the gesture sensors updated. My issue is, even if I were to update the gesture sensors, it doesn't fully solve the problem. And this is a glaring issue that, in my opinion, should have been detected in QA or just by any engineer that might have owned one of these products. I don't know if they're testing these in real world settings or not. If not, they should be. Because the reason is this. Let's assume that the gesture sensors work perfectly fine. If I leave this room and I walk to my office, the gesture sensor thinks my hand is waving in front and changes the photo. There is no option to disable gesture controls within the app. In fact, the only option you have is to contact Netgear and have one of their engineers send a custom firmware down that have the gesture sensors disabled. This should be a toggle in the app. I don't have a museum. I don't have a cordoned off portion in front for this viewing space. This is just on a wall in my hallway. People are gonna walk by this. So when I leave this room or leave that room and walk by it, I shouldn't be having pictures change. In fact, I should just be able to disable the gesture sensors. There might be some cases, where people have this in a spot where they do want the gesture sensors enabled. I am not one of those people. I just want it to do its own thing. I want it every 30 minutes to change the photo. My second issue is this. Even if I were to put some sort of white tape down right here to prevent the gestures from being detected, the gesture sensors in landscape mode are still active. So just as an example, it happens sometimes, goes to show you how frustrating this can be. There we go, my God. Okay, just again, there we go. The frame knows it's in portrait mode. It's only showing me portrait photos because it knows it's in portrait mode. Why is the landscape sensor active? It's just a second sensor that could potentially pick up a false positive gesture. Again, if I turn this into landscape, this, which would be on the side, this portrait gesture sensor should be disabled. If it's in portrait, the landscape gesture sensor should be disabled. So again, I have an ongoing support case. They want me to ship it back to them, but I don't know if there's a point. If I were to do that, it's still going to have menus popping up because it's detecting me walk from the left to the right, and that opens up a menu from the landscape orientation. And again, I think the only way to resolve this issue would be to allow us to disable the gestures, because otherwise I would just have to, I think the more reasonable approach is just to disassemble the machine and unplug them physically. Either way, I hope this helps somebody, whether it's the Netgear support team taking a look. I really do hope they add this to their issue tracker. Regardless, this could be a great product. Just a couple of tweaks need to be made. Thanks.